is, you know, you want to keep the specialties that you use, as I say, classroom teachers, which means you're probably going to 5 to 4 each, section at grade level, at some grade level. And that means that some students will be, by lottery or whatever, move to the other school. So it has the same effect, because you have to balance it all out. You can't run one school to 25 and one school to 35. So that's not, I'm not saying that's desirable, but that's the, to maintain and get to the same effect, that's really what you're going to be faced with. The only other issue, the only other thing that you could do is review, talk about last year, I don't know if we talked about it, if we did, and ask them about it. I'm not sure there's a requirement for a specialist. And then you chose not to touch D80. You thought, that you chose to do that because you thought that, you thought that was more important. But now the circumstances are different, maybe some reduction in that is good compared to using another book. Just throwing that out.
Do we know how much is spent on committees? I'm not saying eliminate the committees, but maybe streamlining them.
We spent about approximately, I believe last year we spent about 80,000 this year, with 100,000 budget for committees.
Okay, so I think that's an area that we can look at.
We can look at that area, but here's the truth, Randy. What's good for kids is good curriculum. We need to articulate, we need to work on our curriculum. We showed great advancements in our curriculum with our park squares. And unfortunately, we couldn't bargain into the bargaining agreements with the cast of the outside of the school.
Right, but we're wanting to keep some of these programs, and so we have to look at other things. And I'm not saying getting rid of all of the committees. I'm saying streamlining them to where maybe they can function maybe even better than they do now.
Oh, I totally agree. And for example, if you were to go with scenario 1 and 2, and you were to adjust the school day, instead of having the committees outside the school day, we could put them at the end of the day. So the committees
Not
can
during their
be
prep
done
time,
during the day. Well, we could provide a prep time. It doesn't have to be 50 minutes. It could be a specific amount of time. We could decide what that time is. But if you look at the end of the day, people do at the elementary level, I believe they have about 25 minutes at the end of the day that they're allocated. And at junior high, you don't have as much time. So perfect opportunity would be to put those committee work into the day. So if we want to add that to the sheet, I'd be more than happy to do it. It'd be $100,000 if we choose scenario 1, and if we're willing to put it into the day. I believe it's 1 and 2, and maybe even 3. If we choose to do that.
Well, please make sure that
That's correct. Yeah. Right. Very good. But it's an if-then statement, right? So if the end of the day was moved so that it could be ended earlier, and if we could put that work into the end of the day, then it would be applicable. And to the same extent, Wednesday early releases, we wouldn't need Wednesday early releases. That would no longer be needed. So we can go with more congruency with the end of our day. But I'm just, I'm shooting from the hip a little bit. We still have to draw the schedule. And we have to work with the association to draw the schedule. And my expectation is that we would not only draw the schedule, but we'd actually write each day during the course of the year, what are we doing, what committee would we have done at the end of the day with each one. So if it's a SIP committee, if it's a calendar, if it's an advisory committee, the scheduling committee, it could all be done. And that would eliminate all the additional sheets that are basically dispersed in the school. Again, that's a collective bargaining because those are outside the school.
But in line with that $10,000 that could potentially be saved with realigning the committees, if we went with one of the other options, then maybe something wouldn't have to be completely eliminated. I mean, we still haven't hit the 750 mark, I know that, and we need to get there, but there's a possibility that maybe could be
No,
some-
something more specific.
one of the programs that's on the chopping block here.
I mean, it's a puzzle, right, without the picture. And this is an easier to put the puzzle together as you go, so not just being those suggestions, these are capable, but you have to sit down and do a schedule and come back with something that's substantiated so that we understand that we can do that. Right now, we're just kind of in the ether. And I know we have some really, really good people who work on the schedule, so we can come together and we can finalize these, we can bring some more, precision to these scenarios. But at the same extent, remember that there are people in the audience, there's some people here in the audience, there's people in the audience before that are saying, you know, do something different. We need to see another option of this year options. And so that's why I was hearing with the grades. I know you wanna talk about the grade centers. I know it could be rushed. I know we don't wanna go on that, I don't wanna go down that path. I told you I wanna be the next who had it. I really don't. But again, to remind this group, the taxpayer spoke. 77-23.
Isn't that something you're gonna have to look at for the following year anyway, so isn't it something worthwhile to start researching
Are
to
you
see?
talking about the grade centers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think absolutely
Because this is
research.
just, this is just year one cuts, if something's not done. You still have another 800,000 in year two.
No, I agree, it has to do.
And that leads to my
absolutely.
second question. The figures, the one, just refresh my memory, the 750 and the
Sure.
800. When we initially went through this, we were using budgeted numbers for for 15 and 16. Did we go back in and put all the actuals for 15 in there? So
Yeah.
like originally we had an estimated of 11.4 for expenses, but that was actually lower. So that's why that number went down slightly, right? Originally it was
Right.
1.8 or something like that?
Total, like 1.1 was the second year, something like
So,
that.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's already in there.
Yes.
Have any of the numbers been adjusted, like, you're just going off the sheer revenue that's in the budget, correct, for revenues for this year? It might not reflect any possible assessment increases or possible.
First of all, the maximum amount of new taxes, if there's no new construction, you can get for next year
Right,
is 0.8%.
okay, it is, that's what I thought.
And that is way lower than what the expenses are looking like.
Right.
Just the salaries and stuff that's always been agreed to, so this is not a good, next year is not a good year if nothing passes, because you basically have no new revenue and your expenses are going up. So that's the other issue, that's why we try to do, at least target the 750 to try and hold our own, and it was good that we did better this last year, okay, which was great. But yes, I mean, you are correct that next year, these little things are all gone. You do have to think a little bit about what you need to start planning for, because that is a different, that's a different animal. That's all that's left.
You know, and just to, I'm just clear in my mind in a sense, if we did consider the grade centers in a sense that it'd be much easier distribution of classroom sizes. Like for example, right now, we're Jeopardy in kindergarten, we would need to hire 2 kindergarten teachers. If we were in a grade center, we would only need to hire 1. Perhaps we wouldn't need to have 6, I'm gonna make up the number, 3rd grade teachers, we might need only 5. And still keep a reasonable amount of numbers in a sense. If we go in and we consider cutting, you know, the music, the arts, the foreign language, all the outside extracurricular activities that, you know, we all agreed to in our strategic plan about having a well-rounded child. These are stuff that makes school fun, and this is what makes kids study and come to school. And so these are some of the things that it might be easier just to try to save or preserve those programs, and we understand the consequence. The consequence is a larger classroom size, and, you know, the parents are gonna have to drive their kids in a sense, to preserve all these other things that are very important. You know, my kids are not in band, but I think it's a great program. I think there's a lot of things that kids can learn, kids learn from that. And so those are just things that I think that we have to consider. Rushing it, I don't think the curriculum is gonna change. You know, the only thing that would be perhaps rushed is to say, which rooms are we gonna assign in each building? but I don't think, the curriculum's not gonna change at all. And so that's something that, you know, takes time to time, you know, perhaps, you know, years and months to plan, but trying to figure out what room, kids are gonna go into, I don't think that's gonna be, that big of a deal
I
in a
think there's
sense.
more going into it than the curriculum when you do grade seven.
Give me an example.
Well, you need to know what building would be used for what, right? You need to know, how many, population, how much is it going to save you to go to grade center? Because this isn't, you don't know that yet. This isn't something that the community wants. They voted on that, they didn't want the one school. 5 years ago, when they wanted to do grade center, they absolutely stood up and said no. So I think before we rush into, research it, I think find the money behind it, find out how much it's going to be saving us, but not for next year, maybe the year after.
But how are we gonna save these programs, by?
That's why we're here.
The public service and the elections, all of these programs that are already have to take costs.
I mean, hopefully not all of them, again, that's why we're here, to try to come up with other solutions.
Do we owe it to the taxpayers, whether we like it or not? Let's find out what the numbers are.
No, absolutely.
You have to run the
You have
numbers.
to find-
And
run
you're
the
sitting here and
numbers.
saying,
But
no,
then what's
no,
the
no, they're not
return?
ready for
So-
it, but the same percent, it was 77-23. We love art. We don't do it.
We understand,
We
and
love
I've
world
said it
language.
several times that,
We wanna pay for
let's
it.
research it, let's look
And,
into it.
great, we wanna pay for it. That was 60, by the way, that was 60%, right? When we went to vote, it jumped by 17%, right?
Well, the voters
And
were
so-
loud and clear.
And
There's
so
no
I
doubt
think
about
we
it.
owe it to investigate. How do you know the price if you haven't done or gone through the motions or gone through the expectations?
And I think we can all agree to investigate it.
All right,
So
so-
I think we owe it to our taxpayers to look at this. We owe it to the people who've been coming to the meetings and been saying, and I hate to use this term, I don't agree with this, whatever this phrase, but to think outside the box.
But
So,
we also
so
owe it to the students.
to think intuitively, I should say. So we owe it to, and all the work we've put into this point, I think we need to go to the drawing board, we need to take a look at this, and we need to have solid numbers. We need to know whether or not we need buses, which we do not need. We need to know whether or not we need to retrofit our bathrooms, which we do not need to do. We know that if we were to go to grade centers, it just depends on how you would set them up. If you went K through 4, your number would be approximately the population that's currently here at Giants. If you went 5 through 8, we know that that population is currently the population that's at Lee. And so do we have the space? Yes, we have the space. Will we have space if we were to grow? Yes, we have space to grow. I mean, so we owe it to have the answers to these questions, whether we like it or not. You know, people need to know that we've been very thorough and very thoughtful. So to take the position of we're not ready for it, the kids aren't ready for it. Kids are the most resilient people at the table, always. It's always the adults. That's the reality. We all know it. We don't want to say it, but kids are resilient. They're amazing.
Okay, so we're going to look at that. What else could we possibly look at?
You know, one of the things that we talked about at our board meeting,